So you are not solving this in Cartesian coordinate system, right? So basically this is phi. So phi is a fixed quantity. Okay. So phi is constant. So now you are solving this is this in r theta coordinate system. So theta starts from here. Theta is 0 here. Okay. Now theta moves all around and theta is varying from 0 to 2 pi. 0 and 2 pi are the same point. And this is the radius, okay, of the journal. Radius of the journal r, and this is your r coordinate. Okay, so this is theta coordinate, this is r coordinate. So in place of r, actually I have written x in the derivation. Okay, now perpendicular to the r, you can take it as phi, but I have written actually try to understand z. Okay, so it is actually r phi coordinate system. Understood? Now this w, if you convert that in r phi coordinate system, right? So then you should be able to find that expression, because this total w, because of this w, the pressure develops. Pressure develops like this. This is the pressure. Okay. Now summation of all this pressure should balance the external acting load W. Okay. Now whatever you are calculating, this W R or whatever I have written WX. Okay. So or W phi or WZ. Okay. These are actually because of this pressure. Now pressure you integrate. Okay. In the direction of x as well as in the direction of z. So this is in the direction of x, pressure you integrate. This is a function of pressure in the direction of in x direction. Okay, this is the function of pressure in z direction or phi direction. So this should be equal to W in phi direction or z direction. Okay, and W is external load in x direction. This is equal to W external load in z direction. Okay, so if you do that, you can find out those two integrations you will get. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so now summation of these two, these are components actually. So summation of these two Wx and Wz, Wx square plus Wz square root over equal to your total W. Okay, so any other doubt?
Hello, sir.
Yes, please go ahead.
In Sommerfeld substitution, you introduce another angle gamma, sir. Where that in that configuration?
Wherein I'm not getting your voice clearly. Please tell me. Sommerfeld substitution, gamma another angle is used, right? Fine.
Yes, sir.
What
Yes,
is your
sir.
doubt?
In diagram, sir, where you shown that, sir? Gamma angle.
You tell me. These are standard integration techniques. Okay. Cos gamma equal to epsilon plus cos theta divided by 1 plus epsilon cos theta. Now you put the value of theta and find out where the gamma is. How much the value of gamma correspond to the theta.
Okay, okay, sir.
Okay, understood. This is like you do in your 12th standard substitutions for integrations. Okay, something you put like tan theta, something like cos theta in place of some values, right?
Okay, sir.
So this is what Sommerfeld actually did a substitution for that, nothing else. So you can very well always relate gamma with theta.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So anything else? Okay, so then let us move forward. So what we did last class, let me draw the bearing again. So typically a journal bearing is like this. It is actually, as I said, just a bush bearing, a outer cylinder and one inner cylinder. Inner cylinder is rotating inside the outer cylinder. Okay. So this we normally treat as length, and D or R. Let's say this is R. So basically D is the diameter of, so D equal to 2R. So diameter of the journal. So we call it infinitely long. Long. When this L is very large than D, or L by D, okay, is large, very large. In real situation, this should be more than 2. If it is more than 2, and if you are using infinitely long solution, then it will be close. Your result, whatever you get, it will be close as solving a real bearing, because real bearing solution comes from solution of two-dimensional Reynolds equation. But as I told already, it is difficult to solve two-dimensional Reynolds equation in pen and paper. So that is what that is why we are actually making this infinite long approximation and neglecting one direction and solving it in 1D, one dimensional. Okay. So in this case, this is the first case, you call it as infinitely long. Now what happens if it is infinitely long? Now if you see the pressure diagram, let me open the circumference first of all. This is circumference. Let us say this is 0, this is 2 pi, this is pi. So we discussed last class 3 boundary conditions: half Sommerfeld, Sommerfeld boundary condition, which is not accurate; half Sommerfeld, slightly closed, but Reynolds boundary condition that gave us closed pressure distribution. So pressure distribution will be something like this. Okay, this is the pressure profile, pressure P, that will get inside this narrow gap, starting from where? Theta starts from, if you join two center lines of bearing and your journal, then theta starts from here. Okay, so this is the theta, it starts from here. So your pressure profile looks like this. This is in theta direction. Now what is happening in infinite long? If it is really long, what is happening in z direction? Now if you want to plot really in z direction, let me plot here in z direction. See, we are not calculating anything in z direction, but still let me draw this in z direction. Let me take 0 at the somewhere, someplace here. Someplace here, this is the middle of the bearing. Okay, total length of the bearing is L. So I can take very well, this is minus L by 2. This is plus L by 2. Now if I plot the pressure profile, if it is infinitely long, so it will look like this. Okay, so this is the pressure profile in Z direction for infinite long bearing. Try to understand. Now, you can imagine at the ends are open to the atmosphere. So that's why pressure is 0 at the end, this position and this position, and pressure will be, then pressure will increase and it will remain constant because it is long throughout the section. So as it is remaining constant, if you take any section, so at any point the pressure or del P upon del Z is equal to 0. Okay, so therefore we are taking it one dimensional while making del P upon del Z equal to 0. Okay, now the amount of pressure here, this P, because you are taking in the length direction. In length direction, this is the length direction. So Z, this is the length direction. It based on at what theta you are plotting this pressure in Z direction. Okay, and this pressure whatever plotted here, this is at the center line 0. Z equal to 0. Okay, because at the end this pressure will also be 0 at the end of the bearing. So any doubt? Okay, so now another case possible. What is that? Infinitely short bearings. Okay, infinitely short. This is infinitely long. Now another case possible, infinitely short, when L very small as D, or in real life practical case we take this value to be less than 1/2. Then we can treat the bearing as infinitely short. Now let us see what happens in infinitely short if you draw the pressure profile. So first of all, let me draw in Z direction, minus L/2, 0, L/2. Infinitely short means this is small, L is small, this direction L is small. Okay, L is small as compared to diameter of the journal. So if that is so, then in case of infinitely short, okay, let me draw in this length to be small. Okay, it is infinitely short, so that's why just let me draw this much. Minus L/2, L/2. Okay. Now how the pressure will look like? If it is infinitely short, then pressure will increase at the middle of the bearing, it is maximum, and then it will decrease. This is the kind of pressure that will develop if it is infinitely short. Now compare, this is infinitely long and this is infinitely short. Okay. Now if you ask me about 0 to pi, 2 pi, sorry, in this theta direction, so pressure development will remain something like this, similar, very similar. Okay, this will be pressure development, but the problem is here del P upon del Z is very high. Okay, very high as compared to del P upon del X. Okay, so as we are looking at making the equations one dimensional, then what you can do, you can neglect actually del P upon del X. That is the trick. So then you can do analysis for short bearings. So short bearing analysis also known as narrow bearings. So we can write like narrow general bearings. This is basically nothing but the infinitely short bearing. Okay. Now the governing equation for this narrow bearing will be like this. Okay, very similar. Only thing is that left side it will be a function of z. So as we are neglecting the variation with x. Now using polar coordinate system, where x equal to r theta, dx equal to r. Okay, you can refer the same picture here that I have drawn. This I have drawn last class also. So refer the same picture. Okay. Now in polar coordinate system, your equation will become okay. Now here, what is h? H is a function of theta. H equal to function of theta, which is that we calculated in the last class, which is c 1 plus epsilon cos theta. Epsilon is eccentricity ratio, E by C. Okay. Now, if you integrate this equation, then twice, see right side h is not a function of z. If you integrate it twice, it will be straightforward. P equal to 6 theta u So as I told, z is not, sorry, h is not a function of z. So the integration will be straightforward. So you will get two constants, C1 and C2. Now you need boundary conditions to evaluate these two constants. So very well, we have two boundary conditions here. Boundary conditions. What are those? So P equal to 0 at Z equal to plus or minus L by 2. At both ends, P will be equal to 0. So if you use these two boundary conditions in this pressure equations and substitute the value of this H here, this expression for H here, then finally you will evaluate the constants and you will get P equal to okay. So this is the expression for narrow bearing pressure profile. Okay. Now again, like your infinite long bearing, if you want to calculate Wx, it will be equal to -2 Okay. If you see here that we are fixing the coordinate system at the middle of the bearing in length direction. So our length direction varies from -L/2 to +L/2. Sorry, this minus should not appear here. So -L/2 to +L/2. So therefore this 2 is coming into picture here. I'm just making 0 to L/2, 2 into 0 to L/2 to get the total pressure. And now in theta direction, we are taking the limit from 0 to pi. Okay, that is what we did for half Sommerfeld solution. Okay, so that was quite reasonable for pressure profile. So that's why we are not taking from 0 to 2 pi, rather we are taking from 0 to pi. So as we discussed in the last class. So now for these two integrations, again you have to use Sommerfeld substitutions the very similar way that we did for infinite long bearings. So if you do Sommerfeld substitutions, then Wx equal to, finally, if you derive Wx, it will be equal to eta ULQ by C square epsilon square divided by 1 minus epsilon square whole square. Then Wz okay, Wz is eta ULQ divided by 4c square pi epsilon divided by 1 minus epsilon square whole 3 by 2. So these two are two pressure components or load components. With that, now you can calculate the total load carrying capacity. As I said already, W equal to root over of Wx square plus Wz square. So this will give you W equal to okay. Can you hear some connections or something?
Sir, we can hear you, but the voice is cutting. Yes, sir, your voice is not clear.
No.
Sir, no, sir, we are not. Barely we are able to hear you.
Okay, let me just check. Can you hear me now? Is the voice clear?
Yes, sir, yes, sir, now clear.
Actually, the problem is my microphone was connecting to another Bluetooth device also at the same time nearby. Okay, so now it is solved. So let us go ahead. Yeah, hope you can see the screen too, right?
Yes, sir, we can clearly see it.
Okay, so finally, we got the load carrying capacity, that is eta u LQ by 4c square whole into epsilon by 1 minus epsilon square whole square into pi square 1 minus epsilon square plus 16 epsilon square whole to the power 1 by 2. So this is the load carrying capacity for narrow bearing. Now using this Wx and Wz, you can very well find out attitude angle. Okay, so attitude angle is your phi, tan inverse Wz by Wx, which is okay. So this is your attitude angle that you will get. Now similarly, very similar way, you go on calculating the friction. For that you need to calculate first shear stress. So shear stress is tau equal to eta u by h. So here del P upon del X is not there. So friction force F equal to 0 to here you can make 2 pi. Okay, so this is your friction force. Now using this friction force, you can calculate coefficient of friction. Let me show you from the starting without skipping the step. So friction coefficient of friction is mu equal to F by W. Now you substitute the value of F and W. So you should be able to find like this, mu R by C. Actually you should get C by R in the right side. I'm taking it to R by C to the left side, pi square S divided by 1 minus epsilon square 1 by 2, where this S is eta n divided by P R by C whole square. Now what is P? This P is not pressure. Okay, this P equal to W by 2 LR. Okay, so you just substitute this F by W here. Whatever you get, put S for this value, then you should be able to find this expression for friction. Now S is known as Sommerfeld number. Sommerfeld. This is very important number for bearings. Okay, where P in the Sommerfeld number, P is W by 2 LR. What is P now then? Can you tell me? What is this P?
Pressure.
Yeah, what pressure?
Bearing pressure.
Bearing pressure.
Yes, good. So this is actually bearing pressure. Pressure acting over the projected area of the bearing. Okay, so this is called Sommerfeld number. So this friction I have written in terms of Sommerfeld number S. Okay, and if you can recall last class or this pre-recorded video that I have given, I have drawn the Strybeck curve, right, initially. So x-axis I was showing speed, okay, and in y-axis I was showing friction. So basically this is the expression that we are using there. Okay, so like x-axis we are using actually Sommerfeld number. In y-axis we are using friction parameter. This value, as we are not calculating mu, we are calculating directly this. This is called not coefficient of friction. This is called friction parameter. Okay. Now after calculating coefficient of friction or friction in this bearing, now this is what we generally do for any lubrication problem, that we calculate the pressure profile. From pressure profile we calculate the load carrying capacity. Now from pressure profile we calculate shear stress, friction force and coefficient of friction. Now, as I say, this is a narrow bearing. As this is a narrow bearing, let us go back to the picture here. This is a narrow bearing. So you can imagine the pressure gradient towards the end is very high. Del P upon del Z is very high. So if the pressure gradient is very high, then the lubricant will flow from inside of the bearing to the outside at the ends. Okay, so that means it is flowing outward in the axial direction, which can also be named as leakage. Okay, or flow rate in the bearing, flow rate in the bearing, which was not important for us in infinitely long bearings, because infinite long bearings L direction is really large and we are only considering the middle portion. But as we are dealing with the Z direction here, so you should always calculate the volume flow rate at the end. So here we need to calculate the end flow. How much lubricant needed to run this bearing can be calculated by calculating the end flow. So let us see this. We derived in while deriving the generalized Reynolds equation. This end flow is minus HQ divided by 12 eta del P upon del Z. Okay, this is flow at any section in Z direction, but at the end, this is flow. This one is the flow at any section in Z direction. Now at the end, what will happen? That QZ equal to integration 0 to pi 2 RHQ divided by 12 eta del P upon del Z. You have to take, this is for flow at any Z, but you are interested to find end flow. So therefore, this del P upon del Z you should take at the end, that is Z equal to L by 2. This del P upon del Z, the pressure gradient, you have to take at the end of the bearing, d theta. Okay, this is the integration for finding out the end flow. So if you do that, then you'll get Qz epsilon U L C. So this is the expression for end flow. Okay. So that is all for narrow bearing. So we have seen last pre-recorded class the infinitely long journal bearing, and today we saw infinitely short journal bearing or narrow bearing. Okay. So tell me if you have any doubt.
Sir, could you please
Yes.
again explain this end flow? What is it, or what is its significance?
Significance is that you have a bearing, right? It is basically a cylinder, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So pressure is like this, right? Pressure is very high at the center, and towards the end it is 0. Now if it is pressure is like that inside a bearing, then where the lubricant will come out from the bearing? At the ends, right?
Yes, sir.
That is what end flow is. Okay. Now this flow you have to calculate how much flow is coming out. So if you want to calculate that, this flow will depend on del P upon del Z.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Pressure gradient in Z direction. This is your Z direction. So pressure gradient in Z direction. So this expression that we have while deriving your generalized Reynolds equation from Navier-Stokes equation, we have taken this expression. We have derived this expression for end flow. Okay. So I am just straightforward taking from there. So now use this
Yes, sir.
expression. This expression is for calculating flow at any section, not at the end. Okay. At any section, at any Z. Because flow will depend on that del P upon del Z. So, but if you want to calculate the flow at the end, exactly at the end, what is happening at the end? So you have to take del P upon del Z at Z equal to L by 2. Okay. That means what you do, come back here in the pressure expression, in this pressure expression. Okay. Now first find del P upon del Z. After finding del P upon del Z, you substitute Z equal to L by 2. Okay. In that expression. So that will give you del P upon del Z at L by 2. So that whatever you get expression, you put it here. Okay. And then integrate with respect to theta for throughout the circumference. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So any other doubt?
Sir, in case of long bearing, this end flow should be 0, right? Because the del P upon del Z factor is.
That is actually the assumption. See, long bearing means it is infinitely long. So you cannot reach to the ends. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mathematically, if it is infinitely long, okay. So this L by 2 is equal to minus infinite by 2 to plus infinite by 2, right?
Yes, sir.
So I cannot reach to the infinite to calculate it. So whatever calculation we are doing at Z equal to 0. Understood?
Yes, sir.
If it is infinite long, there also I am taking, this is Z direction. There also I am taking this Z equal to 0. This is minus infinite by 2 plus infinite by 2. So whatever calculation I am restricting at Z equal to 0. Okay. Now at Z equal to 0, at this middle portion, there is no variation of del P upon del Z. Okay. So therefore I cannot calculate, we cannot calculate actually the end flow. And our assumption says that del P upon del Z equal to 0. So end flow has to be calculated based on del P upon del Z. Okay. So any doubt regarding this journal bearing? Okay. So this is mostly regarding the derivation related to the journal bearing. But another very quick estimation without deriving anything is given by Petrov. So this is nothing to do with Reynolds equation. So this is called Petrov solution. Okay. What Petrov did, Petrov assumed that the bearing is really lightly loaded. Lightly loaded journal bearing. So if bearing is lightly loaded, so can you tell me what is the value of E? E is eccentricity or epsilon. What will be the value of E? Load is 0, journal is lightweight, journal doesn't have mass. Imagine.
So it tends to 0.
Yes, very good. So in that case, what will happen? That basically this is bearing, this is journal. So journal center and bearing center are same. So this gap throughout is actually equal to C. Right? That means H equal to C. Throughout, H is not varying. So if you open up this bearing, let's say, so this is 0 to pi in theta direction. So everywhere the film thickness is actually H equal to C. Okay. Now if you calculate the friction force for this bearing, F equal to tau into A. Okay. So shear stress into area. Now tau for this case equal to eta u by h. Okay. Then F equal to will become eta u a by h. Now here u equal to u is the linear speed, that is equal to 2 pi r n. N is in rpm. Okay, and your a equal to 2 pi r l. Then substitute this, you will get F equal to 4 pi square eta r square in L divided by C. Okay. Now if you calculate now coefficient of friction mu, which is equal to F by W, then you substitute this, you should be able to write 2 pi square eta n divided by P R by C. Okay, this P here is the bearing pressure. Okay, this P is bearing pressure. Now you write like this, mu R by C equal to 2 pi square S. Okay, this S here is your Sommerfeld number. S equal to Sommerfeld number, which is eta n by P R by C square. This is Petrov quick solution for finding out the friction force. Okay. Now if you draw this, this is mu R by C, this is S, Sommerfeld number. This is mu R by C. Okay. Like that. So this is the line for Petrov solution. As you can see, it is linear from this expression. Okay, this is 2 pi square, the slope. Now, if you draw the infinitely long journal bearing, the solution will look like this. Okay, this blue line is for infinitely long. Okay, journal bearing. Now you can see here, after a value of Sommerfeld number 0.15, the solution of Petrov matches with infinitely long journal bearing. Okay, so you can very well see here Sommerfeld number depends on speed in the top, it is speed, in the bottom it is actually bearing pressure. So that means after 0.15, as it Sommerfeld number increases, that means P is going down. That means the case is lightly loaded bearings. For lightly loaded bearings, if you solve with infinite long bearing approximation, it will be very close to this solution of Petrov. Okay, as it derived in just 1 or 2 steps. Okay, so with this, we end the derivation of derivations related to the journal bearings. So any doubt? Okay, so let us move on. Now you have done, so we'll go now for till now we are treating infinite long journal bearing, infinitely short journal bearings in pen and paper by making the equation two-dimensional Reynolds equation as one-dimensional. Now we'll go for real bearing solutions, that is finite bearings. Now how do you solve for finite bearings? So we'll go for numerical solution. Numerical solution. We cannot solve in pen and paper, so we'll go for numerical solution, and that too will use finite difference method that we discussed earlier. So have you tried that one-dimensional program, that is slider bearing?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So I have opened the Moodle link for online submission. So you do the program and take some reasonable value of B and L, okay, for that plane slider bearing, and take some inclination also, so that you can find out H1 and H2, and then make the pressure profile plot and copy your program code as well as pressure profile plot to a Word file and submit the Word file in the Moodle by Sunday, that 1D program. Okay. So now today we'll see, this is a finite bearing which is 2D. So today we'll see how to solve 2D Reynolds equation. We have already seen solution of 1D Reynolds equation numerically. Today we'll see the solution of 2D Reynolds equation, okay, for journal bearing. So give me 2 minutes time, or you can also take, let us take 5-minute break and then we can start. What do you say?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
So I am stopping the recording. We can start recording again after 5 minutes. Okay.